Well, that Dodger game had a lot of dumb parts to it, and we're going to talk about all of them, including Hunter Wendelstedt being bad again. I believe this will be my second umpire rant of the season, and they will both be about Hunter Wendelstedt. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Joe Kelly not making things any better. We'll talk about Nick Castellanos having the IQ of a dead lizard, and a lot more. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. My normal co-host is Vince Samperio, although it's just me today. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like a lot of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. This was a rough game. Jumping in, Dodgers lost to the Phillies 9-4. They were up 4-1 at one point. Bounced back pretty well after a Kyle Schwarber leadoff home run. Unfortunately, then Kyle Schwarber also hit a 2-run double and a 3-run homer and a solo homer, and throwing a run-scoring wild pitch for good measure in there. And infield, a ground out that scored a run. And all in all, the game was ugly. And the ugliest part for me, obviously, I am going to talk about Joe Kelly. Let me know, by the way, in the comments if everything's coming through clear. I'm working with choppy internet, but let me know. Make sure you can hear me at least. I'm going to talk about Joe Kelly because he did not do his part in this game. But for me, the most frustrating part was the blown call by the umpire. And I'll tell you why. Because that one is very, very preventable. That is a call where what's the point of having instant replay if you can't review a call that the umpire very clearly missed? And that's the thing, that this was absolutely, without question, a blown call by the umpire. It's a judgment call, and that's why they don't allow it to be reviewed. You can't review a judgment call. Well, it shouldn't be a judgment call because the rule is black and white. The rule says exactly when you can and can't block the base and what that means. And so there's no reason for it not to be reviewable. The parallel play at home plate is reviewable. If a catcher blocks the plate, the manager can say, hey, I think he blocked the plate. And they will go to review and they will determine, did he block the plate illegally? If so, runner safe. Or if the umpire at home says, catcher blocked the plate illegally, the runner is safe, the manager can say, I don't think he did. And they can review it and look and see. There's no reason this call shouldn't be reviewable. And the whole point, that frustrating part for me, is that Hunter Wendelstedt has been an umpire for a long time. He understands, or should understand, the purpose of this rule. And the purpose of the rule is to prevent fielders from potentially injuring base runners by blocking the base before they have the ball. The rule specifically says you can block the base for the purpose of tagging the runner out once you have the ball. And it says you can block the base if you're in the act of fielding the ball. If the act of fielding the ball takes you into the path of the base, that's okay. Well, on this play, like Miguel Rojas, by the time he was in front of the bag, and before I get that, I will point out this rule is different than the collision rule at home plate. I saw a couple people on Twitter saying the guy had a path to the base. That's not the rule. That's the rule at home plate. The catcher has to leave a path for the runner. In this case, if the fielder gets in front, basically between the base and the runner at all, that's whatever, obstruction, interference, whatever word you want to call it. But there are those exceptions if he's fielding the ball or if he already has the ball. And that's the thing. In this case, by the time Miguel Rojas, his foot was between the runner and the base, he already had the ball. So even if we take everything else at face value, the very clear written exception to this rule very clearly applied. It was he was already had the ball, and if he didn't already have the ball, he would have been in the act of catching the ball, both of which mean that he's allowed to do exactly what he did. There is zero justification for Wendelstedt missing this call. It was a trying too hard call. And that's the frustrating part, because when Major League Baseball said, hey, we want you guys to crack down on this, they explained why. They explained the purpose of the rule. Hunter Wendelstedt isn't just dealing, well, it's the letter of the law and I have to obey it. No, he knew the purpose of it. And so to get the letter of the law wrong and the spirit of the law wrong is just ridiculous. And the fact that you can't review that. I like this comment. Schwarber, which is how this guy spells Schwarber, is your daddy. Stop crying, with 6 laughing emojis. I haven't cried yet. I know it's hard to see. It's dark in here. There's no tears there. I am a baseball fan who likes baseball and gets frustrated when umpires screw things up and there's nothing we can do about it. And like I said, second segment, I'm going to talk about how Joe Kelly didn't help anything either. But in this case, there's no reason that call shouldn't be reviewable. It's the same exact thing as the play at home plate. It is a defined rule that has exceptions that are defined clearly. The only reason this is a judgment call that can't be reviewed is because Major League Baseball decided that it's a judgment call that can't be reviewed. What they should have decided was, hey, this could be really important. And like the only reason for a call to be non-reviewable, I can't think of a good reason. I assume there is some good reason for some call to not be reviewable. There is no good reason for this call to not be reviewable. And so it's inexcusable that Wendelstedt missed the call. It's inexcusable that he acted like a baby when Dave Roberts tried to talk to him about it. And it's inexcusable that it's not reviewable. Massive failure all around. Speaking, oh, this guy's still commenting. Let's see. Oh, just make sure. Yeah, he spelled all the words right in his next comment, so I won't put it up on the screen. Don't want to make him look accidentally smart. Yeah, Dodgers didn't do their part afterward. Joe Kelly said, hey, there's a dumpster on fire. I got this can of gas. Let's see what happens when we put them together. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about that. And, obviously the Dodgers did a lot to lose this game. Kyle Schwarber did a lot to win this game for the Phillies, as Mr. Can't Spell is pointing out in the comments. But bottom line is, umpires should get calls right. And when they get them wrong, we ought to be able to correct that, especially something as easy, simple, just so easy as this. Very frustrating. I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk about Joe Kelly and the rest of the meltdown by the Dodgers. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, buying tickets can be frustrating, whether it's a Dodger game, some other sporting event, a concert, a comedy show, or whatever. It can be a major pain to not know how good the seats are, whether you're getting the best price, all that headache. But Game Time takes that headache away. With their seat views, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. And with the Game Time guarantee, you're guaranteed the best price on your tickets. That's right. If you find seats in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You can also use Game Time's last minute deals to save up to 60% off buying last minutes for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. As I've told you, I used that last minute deal feature of Game Time just a month or so ago, when my wife and I spent all day while we were watching my son play baseball. We were also on Game Time, watching the prices drop for our George Strait concert. We ended up getting very good seats at a very reasonable price just a few hours before the concert started. Had a great time, one of the best concerts I've been to, and that was all because of Game Time. We put the Game Time guarantee to the test. I've done it many times. I checked other sites. Game Time gives you the best price. And if they don't, they give you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, I'm back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thank you to those of you who are everydayers. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Thank you to those of you who are live with us on Wednesday night with me, I guess. I'm not an us. I'm big enough to be us, I guess, but I'm just one person. But thank you for being here with me. Remember, you can catch this wherever you get podcasts. You can make it easy on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching this right now. You can also go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Text directly with us, get our thoughts on moves, news, all that stuff. Before the podcast, it's a lot of fun, one-on-one conversations, and it's just a few bucks a month with a free 14-day trial. Also, check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the two 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Sports LA is where you can find the Locked On Dodgers postcast, hosted by Pete Fox after most Dodger games. Pete was just with the guy from Locked On Sports Philadelphia talking about this game. You'll get sometimes different insights from him than you get from me. Pete and I don't see eye to eye on everything. We both love the Dodgers, though, so it's a lot of fun if you're looking more for more Dodgers content in your life. And remember, you can catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM apps just by searching for Dodgers. And with that said, let's jump back in. So after Hunter Hunter Wendelstedt made his dad proud by being a bad umpire, Joe Kelly, he Joe Kelly'd. The public sentiment is maybe turning against Joe Kelly a little bit. Joe Kelly has very good stuff. He has potential to be a very good reliever. He also has some major implosions in his Dodger career. He's a scary guy to have out there on the mound sometimes. And in this case, he walked the 9-hitter Johan Rojas to get to Kyle Schwarber, loaded the bases for Schwarber, and then gave up a home run. Luckily, it wasn't a grand slam because Kelly threw a wild pitch to score a run first. So it was only a 3-run homer. But with Kyle Schwarber, obviously he had a great series against the Dodgers, a great game in this game, 3 home runs and a 2-run double. And walking the 9-hitter to get to Schwarber is about as unforgivable as it gets. The problem is, unfortunately, that's kind of Joe Kelly's game. He doesn't always know where the ball is going. That's part of the reason that Dodger fans love him. Joe Kelly accidentally hit one Astro and didn't hit another Astro, and Dodger fans loved him for it because he made a face at him. And I get it. I like Joe Kelly as a person. I go back and forth on what I think about him as a member of the Dodgers pitching staff, because part of me, I do think that strikeout stuff is very important in the postseason. And I think that's something the Dodgers need to prioritize. And Joe Kelly, like him or not, he does have strikeout stuff, but there's a balance there. And in this case, the balance was he walked the 9-hitter and then piped one to Schwarber. And that's the issue. That's the problem with command issues, is sometimes they manifest in walks. Sometimes they manifest in home runs because you try to throw a good pitch and you throw a bad pitch instead that's right down the middle. And you can't do that to Kyle Schwarber anytime. And definitely when he's hot like this. So I don't know what I think about Joe Kelly right now. I mean, obviously we have almost 2 months left before the postseason. And despite what some people are saying in the comments, I do think the Dodgers are going to be in the postseason. As I pointed out in the comments on Pete's postcast just a minute ago, they were saying, well, yeah, the Dodgers, they were good back in May, but they're not a good team now. And I said, well, yeah, they were good back in May when the guys who are going to be back on their roster in a couple of weeks were on their roster. Like Max Muncy and Mookie Betts coming back is going to be a big deal. Tommy Edman, who they traded for, is going to be a big deal. Those are all improvements, and it's improving the bottom of the lineup, the bottom of the bench. Those guys, this lineup tonight was not a playoff caliber lineup. Kike Hernandez was batting cleanup. And that's because if you want to go left, right, like they do, the other options were Miguel Rojas and Austin Barnes. Guess what? Kike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, and Austin Barnes aren't going to start very many postseason games. And that's a good thing. That's what these guys come back. And then on the pitching side, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is hopefully going to come back. That would be a big deal. I'm not as confident in that, but I do think, Yamamoto sounded good. We'll talk more about that, the updates in the next segment. But yes, the Dodgers right now are limping along. The D-backs and Padres are both only 3 games behind them now. D-backs swept a doubleheader today. The Padres had a comeback win. Jackson Merrill hit a game-tying homer in the 9th inning to tie the Pirates, and then the Pirates wasted a chance to win the game at the bottom of the 9th and then gave up 3 runs in the 10th and almost came back and tied it or won it in the bottom of the 10th, but ended up losing. So, both of those teams keep gaining ground, but reinforcements are on the way. And the thing that I think people forget sometimes is, just like the Dodgers aren't going to play poorly forever, the Padres and D-backs aren't going to play super well forever. Yeah, they're probably better than their previous records earlier in the season show, but just in the same way, the Dodgers are better than their current performance shows. And so things are going to even out. And I would always rather be the team with a 3-game lead than the team 3 games behind. It's not a great feeling, but it's not the end of the world yet. And in fact, it's always baseball. It's never the end of the world. But so when anyway, that was a tangent because I was talking about the postseason pitching staff. Joe Kelly, I don't know. I like the strikeout stuff, and maybe in the next 2 months he can show that he has more strikeout stuff than implosion stuff. We didn't see that tonight. What we saw was, and Joe Kelly is an emotional guy. I don't know if the emotions of the moment got involved. The fact is, if Hunter Wendelstedt gets that call right, Joe Kelly might not even be in the game. Maybe Alex Vesia is still in the game because that it should have been 2 outs. You never know what's going to happen, and that's one of the frustrating things to me about bad calls that are preventable, is because I love baseball. I like to see what happens when one baseball team plays against another baseball team and a pitcher faces hitters and vice versa, and what the baseball players do. And when games, I'm not saying the umpire decided this game, I'm saying the umpire had an impact on this game, and I want all of the impact on the game to come from the players in the game. That's my view as a baseball fan. But Joe Kelly was in the game and he did implode. And I don't know if that was emotional or just one of those Joe Kelly experience games. But you can't walk Rojas there. Rojas wasn't in the starting lineup because he's not a good hitter. He was only in lineup because Austin Hayes got hurt. That ended up helping the Phillies a lot, that Austin Hayes got hurt, because there was a play that Rojas made in center field that if Brandon Marsh had still been in center field, that would have been a double for Teoscar Hernandez. Instead, it was an out. And then obviously Rojas working that walk. He stole a base earlier when he got an infield single because of his speed, and then stole a base and scored. So that injury unfortunately worked in the Phillies' favor. It was just the final score is 9-4. This wasn't quite that bad. I mean, yeah, Kyle Schwarber dominated this game. Dodgers pitching helped him dominate this game a little bit. And that's just the way things are right now. The Dodgers pitching staff is a big question mark right now. And I hope that they can figure out which guys have the strikeout stuff and are worth the risk of playing in October. And that could be Edgardo Henriquez for the minor leagues. It could be Justin Robleski, who's currently in the minors. We'll see what happens, but Joe Kelly needs to earn his spot, and he didn't do much to earn that spot tonight. And that's a good thing. Manuel just threw a comment and he said, I didn't see the game, but did Roberts really deserve being ejected? That depends on how you look at it, Manuel. The fact is, Roberts came out to argue, and Hunter Wendelstedt put up his hands and said, no, don't come out here and argue, basically saying it's a judgment call. You can't argue this. And Dave Roberts said, but you screwed up the call. I don't know what words he actually said, and he kept arguing. And so Wendelstedt ejected him. So technically, yeah, I mean, he got a warning from the umpire. Don't come argue with me. And then he came and argued. So in that way, yes, he deserved to be ejected. Dave Roberts was correct in his arguing, though. And so if in that way he didn't deserve to be ejected, if this play was reviewable, they probably would have gone to New York, and in the umpire's headphones, the umpires in New York would have said, wow, Hunter, what did you see? You're making us look bad. This was a really bad call. Like, Hunter Wendelstedt should have been ejected from the game for being bad at his job. That's not a thing that happens in baseball. And that, I guess, on balance, that's probably a good thing that you can't eject an umpire. But yeah, so Dave Roberts technically deserved to be ejected, but he was also right, if that makes sense. With that said, I am going to come back in a minute. We'll talk about tempers flaring a little bit late in the game, partly due to the fact that Nick Castellanos is apparently just doesn't have functioning brain cells, maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about it, though. We'll explore that theory. And then we'll talk about a little bit of good news that came on the injury front. So thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And please keep it locked on Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free TradeMaster program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the TradeMaster program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Hey, I'm back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thank you for being here live with me on Wednesday night. If you are, I know coming and talking about a game that kind of sucked like this isn't necessarily always the most fun thing to do, but hopefully a little therapeutic. Thank you if you're an everydayer. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Make that easier on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube, and you can catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. This is okay. I'm just glancing at the comments. I see my son is in here from across the room from me. That's always fun. Anyway, let's talk about the tempers flaring late in the game. Top of the seventh? I think it was after the implosion inning, the Hunter Wendelstedt inning. Nick Castellanos, Michael Grove came in. Oh, maybe it was the eighth then if Grove was pitching. The eighth. Michael Grove on a 1-2 pitch hit Nick Castellanos in the upper body. I think it ended up getting him maybe in the chest or something with a pitch. And Castellanos took exception to it, seemed to think that it was on purpose. I don't understand why Castellanos would think it was on purpose. This is Grove's first game back from the injured list. Maybe his first batter. Was there nobody out there? Maybe there's one out. First or second batter that he's faced coming back from the injured list. You think he's going to throw at you? And Castellanos, he had 2 doubles in the game, but he wasn't the star of the game. That I don't know if you heard. It was Kyle Schwarber. Castellanos, there was no reason to throw at him. There was no reason anybody would throw at him in that situation, and there was no reason to think that he was throwing at him. He got hit by a pitch, and he thought it was on purpose because I'm Nick Castellanos, I guess. That's how I don't even know. If I can't even figure out why he would think it was on purpose, I'm pretty good at imagining what dumb people think. I don't know what he was thinking there. That's how dumb he is. And then later, in the bottom of that inning, Gavin Lux got hit by a pitch. He took exception. That one might have been on purpose. I don't know. Matt Strom, there were 2 outs, nobody on base, a 1-0 count. A much more logical situation to throw at somebody if you were going to throw at somebody. If perhaps your teammate had gotten hit in the previous half inning and you wanted a little retribution. I'm not saying Strom did intentionally throw at Lux. Don't really care. I think it's dumb. I think throwing at hitters is dumb. But the dumbest part of it all is that Nick Castellanos thought it was he was hit on purpose. I just wish that, because Freddie Freeman is notoriously friendly with guys at first base. I just wonder if he said anything to him. I like to think that he's just standing there with his big, cheesy Freddie Freeman friendly grin. But what he's saying is, man, you really are dumb as a brick, aren't you? Man, you just have no clue how baseball works, do you? Because that's what Nick Castellanos deserved to have said to him. Maybe the Dodgers will meet up with the Phillies in the playoffs. Maybe not. Maybe this will come back to mean something. Maybe not. I don't know. It's trying to manufacture controversy on Castellanos' part. Yeah, it's not fun to get hit by a pitch. Guess what? It happens all the time. It happens thousands of times every year. Guys get hit by pitches. And you know what? We'll see what happens. But yeah, Nick Castellanos, dumb as a brick. That's my official stance. I'll go so far as to say it's the official stance of Locked On Dodgers that Nick Castellanos, compared to a brick, is roughly equal intelligence. I'll say roughly. Maybe he's got the edge. Maybe he's a little behind. Maybe it depends on the day. Anyway, that's it for this game because this game was dumb. Dodgers are done playing the Phillies. They end up dropping 5 of 6 to the Phillies in the series, in the season series. This is a game they should have won. Tuesday's game was a game that maybe they could have won. I wouldn't say they should have won it. But, this one they definitely should have won. And they didn't for a lot of reasons, as we've discussed. But with that said, the Dodgers did get a little bit of good news on the injury front. First of all, Brusdar Graterol, when Vince recorded last night, it seemed like Graterol was going to be out for the season. Dave Roberts said in his postgame interview on Tuesday night that it was a grade 3 strain, which would mean for sure that Graterol was done for the season. Well, Graterol had an MRI on Wednesday, and it showed a grade 1 strain, which is much better news. I was at the game, so I didn't see in person. I couldn't see all the details when it happened, but watching the squeeze play that they show on Sportsnet LA this afternoon, watching the replay of that, it looked like Graterol actually got hurt the play before his last pitch. There was a foul ball, little chopper on the third baseline, and Graterol ran over to it in case it was fair. And it looked like he pulled up a little bit and kind of shook his leg. Seemed like that's where he got hurt. And then he threw the one more pitch and couldn't even get his leg into it. The pitch was very slow and very high. I don't think he hurt himself on the pitch. I think he hurt himself on the previous play. But the fact that it's only a grade 1 hamstring strain means there is a chance that he could be back this season. We'll see if he can get back in time to get in pitching shape, get ready that they trust him in the postseason. I don't know. I don't know if that works, but the fact that it's not a grade 3 hamstring strain is good news. We also got news that Mookie Betts and Max Muncy and Tommy Edman are both starting rehab assignments at AAA this weekend, and both probably going to be at least a week on rehab is the way it was put. So they could both be back, in the next couple weeks. And Mookie Betts is still on track to be back early next week. They said he won't have a rehab assignment. He's just doing sim games. So Mookie could be back in the lineup, for the Milwaukee series early next week. That's all good news. Yoshinobu Yamamoto threw another bullpen session. He was very pleased with how it went. He said he is feeling good. He's confident he's going to get back this season. That obviously, as I alluded to in the second segment, that would be very good news because a Dodgers starting rotation in the postseason in some order, Tyler Glasnow, Jack Flaherty, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto as your top 3 makes you feel a lot better about whoever the 4th starter is. Gavin Stone tonight wasn't great, wasn't terrible, but I don't think you're thrilled about the idea of him as the 4th starter right now. Maybe River Ryan steps up, maybe Justin Robleski, maybe Clayton Kershaw. Who knows who the 4th starter will be, but you feel a lot better about whoever it is if the first 3 are healthy and effective: Tyler Glasnow, Jack Flaherty, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So that would be a really good thing. So yeah, it is good news, and it's very frustrating right now to watch these Dodgers putting out the split squad lineups and struggling a lot. But there is hope on the horizon. And like I said, Padres and Diamondbacks aren't going to stay this hot the rest of the season. If they do, they deserve to win the division. One of them deserves to win the division if they both stay this hot. They're not going to. And the Dodgers aren't going to stay this cold. Things will even out. And like I said earlier, I would always rather be the team 3 games ahead than 3 games behind, especially because Padres and D-backs have to jump over each other for one of them to win the division. So, I would much rather the Dodgers have a 15-game lead right now, But, who knows? I've seen a lot of people theorizing that maybe having to fight through August and September to win the division might be good for the Dodgers in the postseason. Who knows? This is stuff. It's all stuff that we'll look back in November and say, okay, here's what I think this meant. And here's how I think this helped or hurt the team. Right now, all we can do is guess. We don't know why the Dodgers have struggled to hit in the last 2 postseasons. Was it the layoff during the wild card series? I don't think 2 series is enough to say that for sure, but maybe it played a part. Was it the fact that they wrapped up the divisions so early so they didn't play any meaningful games for the last couple of months of the season? Maybe, maybe not. But all this stuff, I love the Dodgers. I love watching the Dodgers. And even when it's not fun, I'd rather be watching a not fun Dodger game than, watching something else or doing something else. So I know we all love the Dodgers, and that's where the frustration comes from. But this one tonight, frustration with Hunter Wendelstedt, frustration with MLB's replay system, frustration with Joe Kelly, frustration with Nick Castellanos. A lot of frustration in this game, frustration that Kyle Schwarber just hit the crap out of the ball. Credit where credit's due. Lots of guys get pitches to hit, and they don't always hit them, and Kyle Schwarber hit them 4 times tonight. So credit to him. That's going to do it for me for today. Dodgers are off on Thursday, I think. Pretty sure the Dodgers are off. Man, these days are running. I'm on vacation, as you can tell from my background. I am at my parents' house, and I didn't even know for sure what day it was when I started recording. I had to ask my son. So that's where I'm at. But we will have an episode because tomorrow is Thursday, which means we'll have an episode tomorrow night. Assuming they're off like I think they are, it'll be some form of a mailbag episode. Maybe there's some news. We'll see. There's going to be a lot to talk about for the rest of the season. We enjoy doing that with you. So thank you for being here with us. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. You can make it easier on yourself to become an everydayer by doing that. You can, if you subscribe on YouTube, you can click the bell or whatever to be notified when we're going live. We go live most episodes these days, and it's a lot of fun being here live with you guys in the chat. So check that out. Remember, you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the 2 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's just a few bucks a month, free 14-day trial, and you can text directly with us, get our thoughts on a lot of things. So check that out. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSince91. I am on Twitter at Snydog. DMs are open for both of us there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.